Oh,
So I think that had something to do with it too.
Almost every good listing now that comes out, you get these investor buyers that want you to double it, to double end it. The key is still to price it under market. Be able to get multiple offers.
I have money on buy it, so, no.
I think it has incredible potential because of the way there's no HOA and just the whole setup on that property is amazing. You have direct access from the double car garage. I mean, you've got incredible space for the washer dryer. I mean, it has so many pluses.
Well, get it held open. I mean, that's,
Well, I'm gonna be there Saturday
okay.
And Linda's doing
and
Sunday.
Linda's doing Sunday.
The other thing is,
Where's
they're
your,
sharing the water
where's
bill
your,
at present, they're sharing
Harbor
the
City.
water bill with the back
okay.
unit. The back unit is going to the water company, city or whatever, to get another meter put in, so that they'll pay their own water, which I think is another big plus.
Yeah, if they do it. So there's agents that hold it open during the week also, just let Lisa know.
No, I haven't had anybody over requested open, and I haven't solicited anybody, so.
Yeah, just let Lisa know that's available during the week if they don't want it during the week. Anybody have any questions about anything? We're back another 5 minutes here.
Are they, are you wearing masks at the open houses? No? Oh.
I think we're supposed to, but or
Bring up the chain link fence, keep out the mosquitoes.
you have any questions of me?
I see in the booklet you got telemarketing. Can you still make phone calls or no
You
call?
can, and I don't know of any agents that do. It's the most effective way to
That's his list.
get leads, and it's also the most
You showed me the
inexpensive.
photo of the,
But in all my training, my years of teaching, agents just aren't into phone calling. So I've got some great scripts on there, but we're not gonna go into it today because I know none of you are gonna do it. So.
Well,
I think a lot of us are sorry because we get those calls so often, and they're really scams.
Right. Yeah, but the way I have my script in there, it's different.
Oh, good.
And
is
you're
it
just-
like a Mike Ferry script? No.
I don't know all of my very scripts, but
oh, you remember Mike, yeah. Well, you remember 20, 30 years ago, we used to call calls all the time, the evenings. But then they changed the law that no calling unless they know you, they expect you.
I think realtors invented cold calling.
Maybe, but I know one company that I work with in the evening, they brought pizza, they brought, everybody comes to the office, make cold calls.
yeah,
We used to caravan too. Remember those
Caravan,
days?
yeah.
Yeah, every Friday was
Caravan,
taken by an office meeting and caravan.
caravan, yeah. Could do that, yeah.
Are any of these books still good for today?
All of them are. Think and Grow Rich is a classic. I mean, that's just, they're motivational books, so
Yeah,
it's not real estate specific.
yeah, I read that.
In fact, a lot of those, I have them upstairs. And you're welcome to borrow any of them.
I have a book.
I've got lots of cassettes on training and everything also.
You get Power of Positive Thinking by Norman Peale.
Yeah,
You got that?
yeah. Yeah, when I was in my 20s, this is a long time ago, I was a real motivational guru. I took all the courses. And we literally have tens of thousands, Keith's given me thousands of dollars worth of his seminar notes, cassettes and booklets up there. That not just motivational, but there's a lot in there and working with buyers and prospecting.
Lloyd Whitman.
Lloyd Whitman, we've got
He's
probably
awesome.
100 audio tapes from him. But for today, as you guys all know, prospecting is kind of like the backbone of this industry. Whether or not you're going to do it or not will determine your success. So in my open class, I actually spent 2 weeks on this, so it's about 6-7 hours. Today we're going to do it in less than an hour. So I want you to tell me what you're interested in. You guys can keep this booklet and go through it at your leisure. It's got a lot of information in here. What do you have questions about as far as prospecting?
I expect people to call me that I served them 20, 30 years ago. They don't call, either they don't move or they forgot about me.
Yeah, and you know, that's one of the, when I was making my cold calls, 100 years ago, AT&T at the time, and I think they controlled all the phones. They had this big study that they did just for the real estate industry, because as Keith said, I think the realtors developed cold calling and it was very interesting. It gave all the stats on number of calls and cold calls and all the time that's spent using the phone to prospect and to market. And they said that it was 90%, just to paraphrase, because this was probably about a 300-page document. 90% of our time is wasted on making these calls. And their conclusion at the end of this report is that agents, even new agents, should be spending their time making warm calls rather than cold calls. So you call your sphere of influence, the people that you know, like we should now, because we already have the database and we know everybody that's on our list. We should be calling them, even if it's just as a social call, and saying, hey, how you doing? And interest rates have doubled here in the last 6 months. And if you ever have any questions, call me. And make these warm calls, because that's where over 90% of our business comes from. It comes from people that we know. So we end up spending all this time prospecting on to get this small percentage of our actual income that real estate agents earn statistically. So, again, when you're 20 years old and none of your peers can buy real estate because they're 20 and you don't know anybody, then basically you're stuck with those, with making those cold calls. So that's my take on making calls, John, is we need to be calling them, and we need to set a plan and work your plan. That's what I'm gonna talk about today.
I like the wording, warm call.
Yeah,
One of the things, the gal that got me in the business, Carol Clemens, remember her?
Sure.
Carol became Carol Metals. She got me in the business, and when
I didn't know that you worked under here originally?
I worked with her.
With her?
At the same office. And she, after I bought my house, she always remembered my birthday, and that clicked. So any past clients or friends or whoever, they get on my list for birthdays and anniversaries. They get a card from me every year. And it's something that's not quite a warm call, but usually I sit down, I buy cards by the gross.
And follow up is the whole key. I mean, once you have your database of 300 plus people that know you, and all it is warm calls at that point and follow up. And there's lots of stuff available out there to do that, especially now if you have email addresses for everybody. You can hit them up a couple times a month. And it doesn't all have to be, hey, do you want to buy, do you want to sell? It's like, happy birthday or happy anniversary or the anniversary that you purchased your house. Danny introduced me to this HomeBot software for anybody that owns real estate. It's excellent and it's free for your first 25 people. It gives them a monthly update on the value. It uses all of these analytics like Zillow and our CRMLS does a real value. And it will keep your clients informed as to market value. And it gives you feedback as to when they click on it, how long they stayed on it. If there's questions, they can message you. So this is much better than just like sending a magazine or sending a postcard because you're actually getting feedback. But you need to do a combination of stuff so that you're making these contacts at least on a monthly basis. But more importantly, getting back to John's comment, is that you have to personally talk to your clients. Whether that's on a monthly basis, on a quarterly basis, semi-annually, whatever is in your plan, but that has to be number one importance is, make touching bases with all of the people that you know and letting them know that you're still in the business, giving them updates on real estate, that you're the real estate professional. Questions? Comments, anything? Okay, so in this book, I'm just going to hit on a few things. The latest page that we add is that very first one. It's pretty interesting, is these time frames when you're working with buyers and sellers. And this is through National Association of Realtors, through their statistics, that when you work with a buyer, this total process is over 16 months for them to think about doing it, actually start looking, making a decision, getting into escrow. So that's a year plus when you work with buyers. And as we know, since I think most of us have been in the business a while here, sellers are that's the backbone of this industry. They're only at 9 months. So especially when there's a shortage of listings, that's the market that you want. So if you have a choice of prospecting, it's always better to work for sellers than it is for buyers. All right. Questions, comments? Okay. So what I'm going to get into is, unless you give me some advice here as to what you want to hear about, I'm just going to talk about a couple of things that I've noticed over the decades that proved to be successful in your prospecting. Overall, what I found out, and I'm sure Keith, John, you two over these years, that when agents that are successful in real estate have usually found some niche in the business, whether it's sphere of influence, like they have, friends that are investors that they work with. We have agents here at TRG that all they work with is just family. They do their 3 or 4 transactions a year, and they don't do any cold business. It's only people that they know. So find that niche, and there's a lot of different things you can do. So as I mentioned, it's family or friends, that sphere of influence on people that you know. If you have a Christmas card list of 300 people, then that should be your real estate career, is just prospecting to them. You don't need to go out and get any more cold calls. Just plan your work so that you're going to be making contacts to them on a monthly basis, and hopefully on a personal note, at least on a quarterly basis. And you'll be plenty busy to do that. But you can also get into specifics, like if you want to work expired listings or work open houses or farms. We probably have 3 or 4 agents in here that have been farming areas for decades. And if you stick with that, that will keep producing for decades for you and keep you in this industry. One of the most interesting statistics that I run across, and I tell this to all of my new students that are getting into real estate, is that 90% of everybody that gets into this business on a full-time basis fails in 2 years. 90%. So we have at TRG, we have a lot of agents that have been in the business for years and years, a lot of veteran agents. They have their own database of clients, or they're doing it on a part-time basis where they're happy just doing a handful of transactions a year, and they don't have to make 6 figures every year to support themselves. And that's fine, but you have to plan your work and work your plan. So cold calls is one. Any groups that you belong to, whether it's your work group, if you have another career, a church, and then you can get specific as far as your niche marketing, as far as marketing to just strand properties, like are on the beach or beachfront or ocean view properties. There's agents that they just specialize in that. Horse properties, condos. I know a couple of agents over the years that just do condos, and that's their specialty. And then depending on how the economy is, there's always agents that just do short sales or bank loan properties or foreclosures or distressed properties, flip properties. If you know an asset manager or attorneys that can get you leads. If you have enough of these people, that will support your real estate career for years and years. So typically when a new agent comes into the business, in fact, my 30-day to success workbook that I preach, it gives them, it tells them that over their first 6 months that they should go out and try everything. Do an open house, work an expired listing, go to a for sale by owner, try all these different items so that you can narrow what you like to do and what you feel comfortable doing. And I think more importantly is what you will do. As I started this off, phone calling is the most effective way to spend your time, whether it's cold calls or warm calls, and it's very inexpensive, but most agents don't do that. And so you are your own boss in this, so you've got to find something, someone much smarter than me when I said, know thyself. You've got to do something that you will get motivated enough to do on a regular basis. Questions, comments?
I find that walking a farm with a flyer, what's sold in the neighborhood, and we used to buy pens or buy notepads and give them so they don't get too upset that we bother them with the door here is we give some gifts. And then we develop friendship and works. But as soon as you get busy and you with a buyer, you drive you around the weekend, you don't go visiting. Next time you drive by, well, out the people that I talked to, they said they're gonna sell and now here's a sign there. Well, because you didn't go, keep on going all the time.
Yeah, you gotta be consistent. And so let's, I don't think anybody here is actually farming here, so let me just touch on it. I think it's like your third page in here under farming. So no matter what you decide to do, whether, and I'll talk about open houses or farming or even for sale by owners, if you decide that you want to do a geographical farm, right? First, investigate as much as you can about farming. And like I said, we have lots of books up there. In my area, we have 2 agents that farm the neighborhood, but nobody is actually knocking on doors and talking to the people. They're just handing out flyers or they're mailing stuff out. Anybody could go in there and knock those guys out if they just want to go around and talk to the homeowners and make those contacts. So as I've mentioned at least 3 or 4 times, you need to plan your work and work your plan. And as you see in this farming booklet here, I think this was one of Tom Hopkins' comments. You've got to do your guerrilla marketing. So what trainers typically teach in farming is that you go through your farm once a month, you pick 500 homes, you knock on everybody's door, you go through it once a month. And the idea, the statistics state that when somebody sees you 9 times, they'll have a 90% chance of recalling who you are. So just meeting them once or twice ain't gonna do it, right? You've got to have that persistence. You got to just keep doing it all the time. So the problem with farming is that, and you go through it once a month, well, 70, 80% of the people aren't going to be there, right? So if you've got 500 homes, you're probably talking to maybe 50 that you're actually meeting on a monthly basis. When you get to the end of the year, you've probably talked to maybe 10 of them 8 or 9 times to where they know who you are. But the other 400 plus, they don't know you from the next agent out there. So it's very time consuming and it takes years. And in my history, most farmers that start out, it takes about 5 years before it really gets productive. And they're spending a lot of time and money on their flyers and their giveaways. I've given out pumpkins, I've given out bunny rabbits on Easter, I've given out Dodger tickets and spring cleaning and made for a day. Lots of stuff. One of my favorites was fortune cookies under New Year's in January. But it can be very ineffective if you're not planning your work and working your plan. So in my marketing for farming, you're making 4 to 5 contacts a month. So when you make 4 to 5 contacts a month, in a period of 3 or 4 months, these people are going to know who you are. I mean, they're either going to love you or hate you, right? But they're going to know that this is your neighborhood and you're specializing in it. So that's a lot different than your typical 1 day a month and one visit to the farm per month. So that's why I think it's very important that whatever you decide that you're going to do, that you focus on that, and that's all that you do. Whether it's just farming or doing open houses or for sale by owners, and that is your business, and you become the best at that for that farm. And then this, if you look at my outline here in the box, I have sample farm goals. So this is your plan where each month I've got 5 different things that I'm doing, whether I'm handing out a coupon for a free market analysis or I'm handing out a newsletter. There's lots of other stuff. Robert will do just listed postcards, just sold postcards. And these don't even have to be your properties. It can be other properties that are in this farm, right? If it's on the MLS, it's legitimate. You can advertise those and put those out. You have notepads, pens, pencils, all kinds of stuff. But you've got to plan it out so that you know every day that you're going to be doing your 2 or 3 hours a day in your farm. Every day, right? Take off Sundays or take off one day a week. But you have to do this religiously. How much time do you think agents spend prospecting in our office? They probably don't do 3 hours a week, right? And you need to do this on a daily basis. So that's what it's going to take. And again, whether it's farming or another type of prospecting, you need to focus on that. And if you need help, I've got files of all types of handouts and stuff that I can help you with, and we got lots of material, as I mentioned, upstairs. Okay, so let me touch on open houses. This is what I did. You know, I'm 20 years old, brand new in the business. This is about 20 years ago. Right?
Last week.
Yeah. I'm brand new, and so I did lots of different stuff, but what I found, this is probably after about 10 years in the business, is that open houses was going to be my niche. And so I did 3 to 4 open houses every week. I mean, this is before, married children and everything. So every weekend, every Saturday and Sunday, I did open houses. And usually 2 days during the week, I would do an open house. And I would go like today in the summer where it's light in the evenings. You go like 4 or 5 o'clock and you stay until like 7 o'clock for a couple of hours. And there's lots of times when you may not get anybody that stops by. Today's market's different. Today's market, it's great. But I mean, there were many years where you do open houses and you wouldn't have anybody. But my goal with doing 4 open houses a week was to get 1 buyer a week. That was my goal. And so after a period of a couple of months, you've got 7, 8 buyers, right? When you have 7 or 8 buyers, you can be, personally, I can't handle more than 4 or 5 buyers. But once you get all of these buyers, you start throwing them out. I mean, if they don't return phone calls or they're not giving the paperwork to your lender like they need, I don't have time for you, because you've got your plan done. You're going to get a new buyer every week, and you only want those buyers that are going to jump through hoops, that they have to buy something because they're job transfer, death, divorce, whatever it is, afraid of interest rates. But it's a numbers game, and those are the type of buyers that you want to work with, and they need you. They want to work with you. So it's just a matter of putting out enough effort so that you get those numbers. How many open houses do most agents do in a month? Yeah, maybe 1 or 2.
Now, I guess with pandemic, a lot of open houses have been reduced, but before, open house signs all over the city.
Yeah, but most agents are typically will do 1 or 2. And I flash back to this is 10 years ago. I was training this. It was a brand new agent. She was all excited about doing open houses. So I set her up on this property for a weekend. I think she did a Saturday and a Sunday. She got a listing appointment down the street from a neighbor. Because on open houses, you can get sellers also, right? And she got a buyer that she was working with. And so I went over, I helped her. I actually went on the listing presentation with her, and we didn't get the listing. It took about 2 weeks to go through that. And people were real nice, but they decided they didn't sell her out. Or went with somebody else. I can't even remember. The buyer that she had, I think she worked with for about 3 months, and they didn't buy. So I'm looking at her. She had all this success from this one weekend, right? She never held another open house. And it's like, it's just strange to me. It's strange when, I guess maybe I was more self-motivated when I was younger or more hungry or whatever, but heck, if I got that kind of a business off of a weekend, I'd be out there every day holding open house. And that's the attitude. Elva is doing open houses now, and she only does a couple, maybe 2 a week, right? And she's averaging about 2 transactions a month. And she's getting these buyers off of these open houses. So the business is out there, but I mean, I don't know anybody that does 4 open houses a week. And there's no reason you can't. I mean, your house is vacant, right, Keith? Yeah, it's just sitting there. You know, and it's not that you're gonna definitely sell that house, but you're gonna get buyers. that are gonna- Yeah, and in today's world, your office is mobile. You can do everything on your phone or take your laptop. And so it's not that you're just sitting there, reading magazines like a lot of times I did, or I was going for my broker's license at the time. But you can do other business while you're there, and people can knock on the door and say, "Hey, I want to buy the house." It's like, how amazing is that? So you gotta have that kind of attitude, and you gotta embrace it, plan to where you're gonna be doing 3 or 4 a week, and do it, and just do it if open houses is your thing. And then I've got a whole outline on open houses. There's so many open houses I go to where they got like one sign in the front yard, and the door's closed, and the lights are off. And it's like, is there really somebody there? Where my best open houses are these new home tracks. Where you're going out to San Bernardino or Riverside or something, and they got billboards. KB homes here, turn off, and they may have a track of 500, but there's only like 4 of them built, and they've got balloons and banners and these, back then they were $200,000 or $300,000 homes, and they probably have $200,000 in staging and decorating on these homes. The air conditioner was turned up high, fireplace was turned on high. I mean, it's 100 degrees outside. So you got to make it this circus atmosphere so that people want to stop in. So there's these, Elva uses these feather flags. I have a big welcome sign that, cost me $99 that, you stretch out in the front, you put out signs and flags, and you got to put out at least a dozen signs and flags. And you do this every day, 4 days a week. I mean, and that's your business, and you are going to be successful. I mean, but you just got to do it.
So you get more buyers with open house than you do sellers.
Yeah. But you'll get sellers. You'll get.
You get all the neighbors.
Oh,
They all come over.
Yeah, and especially if you actually market it. So if this is going to be your niche, you're going to study open houses. And what you'll find is that before the open house, you walk the neighborhood, maybe just 2 or 3 blocks, spend an hour, hand out. Robert will do for free. I'll do postcards and says, open house today, 10 to 3. What's great is that most of the open houses are now much shorter duration than what they used to be. We'd sit on them for 5 or 6 hours, and now they're only like 3 hours. Doesn't mean you can't do it for 4 hours, but you can market the neighborhood. Put out some flyers, let them know, and that's how I would handle the open house today, because people out there don't know that these $700,000-800,000 little crummy homes are now $1 million. And this gives them the opportunity to say, wow, this is listed at 1.1 million, and it's not as nice as mine. I'm gonna go check it out.
There is another, you do open house, you get flyers and deliver in the neighborhood. It says you're invited to this open house that's gonna be. And we're gonna have some food and drink. Come.
Yeah, Joe Morales used to bring his little gas, I don't remember the Gardena office. He used to bring his little gas barbecue, and he would do hot dogs and hamburgers out there on the driveway, and he had the balloons and all of that, and you make it a circus, and it makes it much easier for more people to stop by. Juan Montoya, he would do his open houses, and he would always knock on the doors, everybody around, right, and say, because he'd have it already open. But he would knock on doors where you could still see if anybody was pulling up. Hey, come on over, I got this house in his broken English. I got this house for sale, come over and check it out. And most of the time, he would be outside. He would either be in his car or be on the porch, because what he taught me is that, and this is when you have the flyers on your signposts, right? You got this open house, you got all these lead-in signs. People would drive by and they're thinking, oh, that's going to be way too much. I'm looking for a 2-bedroom, or, oh, gee, this is a pretty crummy house. I'm looking for something, that's much nicer than this, but I'll go up and I'll grab a flyer, right? And so, and he would catch him. He would run out to him and say, hey, nobody's home. Come on in, come in and check it out. Take it. Oh, well, I'm only looking. Well, that's okay. Come take a look. And he would get people off the street that way, because a lot of times you just run up and take the flyer. Another thing I learned in open houses, if this is going to be your thing, is that typically, if you're in today's world, let's say it's $1 million neighborhood, what do you think the buyer's price range is?
700-800.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, so what you'll find is that most buyers that come into a tract looking at these open houses can't afford that house. Usually they're not going to go look at a home that's lesser than what they want. They're always pushing, trying to. So what does that tell you? So you need to have flyers, or you need to have your laptop set up so that you can show them that, oh yeah, there's 3 others in this tract that are 800,000. Or there's some 2-bedrooms.
What was available to my open houses, also like if this isn't theirs. I
Right.
would bring the
Right.
others that are active in that same area and
Yeah.
ask,
Yeah, because the reality is that most people that are coming in can't afford that house. And so you gotta hook them so that you can make an appointment after the open house or the next day to show them one of these other properties, or to start into your buyer program where you meet with them and get them pre-approved and everything. So again, if this is your specialty, you're going to learn all of this and you're going to be the best at it in your field. Doing this once or twice a month, yeah, you get a couple transactions a year and that's going to be it. So you just got to focus and you got to push on it. All right, so that's more on open houses, but I want to move on. Any other questions or comments on that?
I have one. On the postcards that you send out, you can send, something sold if it's in the farm area, even if it's not yours. Can you send out the postcards on something that's listed, even though it's not yours?
Sure.
Then also, even though.
Sure.
Okay.
Yeah. You have to give credit,
Right.
as to where it's listed. And yeah, if it's on the MLS, you can.
Well, in this market, there's no expired listing.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah, there's
It
a
is.
lot.
But I thought that they were selling.
Well, there's always crazy sellers out there that
That's for sure.
that listings are either canceled or they don't sell for some reason or another.
Okay.
Especially with high interest rate now, I think it's gonna slow down selling.
Yeah, there'll be more. Same as for sell by owners. I mean, we used to, in the newspaper, we used to circle the ads and we would solicit those. Well, nowadays there's websites where just for sell by owners, where they will put your listing for free, right? So you go to this website, you've got all your for sale by owners right there. And if you want to specialize, and I can talk hours on working for sale by owners, but you got to do that guerrilla marketing. Have any of you ever stopped by for sale by owner?
See how they.
Have you? Okay, well, and that's what most agents do. A for sale by owner comes up in your track. Oh, gee, I should probably stop by that as you drive by. The agent that stops, what do you think they do? I'm only going to touch on this a little bit because there's too much to cover. So what do you think the agent that sees this for sale by owner says, oh, I live in this tract, my broker says I should always stop. What do you think that agent's going to do?
Just to jump back to for sale by owner, There was one on Valley in Hermosa Beach, and I drive by to go to Vaughn's, and I thought, I should stop, drive back. Oh, I forgot I didn't stop. I stopped, and he wanted me to co-list with an agent in San Diego. And other agents he spoke to said no, and I said, no problem. And it was my sign. I was with Shorewood, so I ended up selling it and listing the people that came in to buy it. So I did 3 transactions.
And have you ever stopped at another for sale by owner?
No,
Okay, so my purpose is that you need to focus, right? I mean, it's nice to do this shotgun approach where you do a little bit of this and a little bit of that. But if you were only doing for sale by owners, right? You would realize that most agents, like Olivia, when an agent, 90% of them are gonna drive by. Those that are gonna stop, they're gonna knock on the door. Oh, hey, I'm in real estate. Here's my card. I'm glad to help you sell your property. Can I do blah, 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 and that's it, right? The guerrilla marketing, there's a plan in here, is where you have to educate this for sale by owner, because that a for sale by owner needs us. They need the MLS. There's no way that I'm not gonna sell my own house by myself. I'm gonna put it on the MLS. If I owned a property in Palm Springs, I would have an agent there, list the property. Obviously, I negotiate a good commission and everything, but they need us, and we're gonna do better for them than anybody doing it themselves. So you gotta have that attitude, and you need to educate that for sale by owner so that they get up to your knowledge of using you as their specialist. Now, what does that involve? Well, I got a plan in here, right? You see them 4 times a week. 4 times a week, because usually they'll make a decision to list within 3 to 4 weeks, right? So you're going to see them a dozen times. Whereas most agents drive by, even those that stop, just give them a card. No, you stop by and then you have your whole 12 visits all planned out. Your first one is something like, oh, hey, I just, I live down the street. I'm specialized in this neighborhood. Here's my card. Any questions, give me a call. By the way, you can do an open house this weekend? Oh, yeah, I'm gonna have a Saturday open house. Okay, well, if you need any extra signs or flags, I'll be glad to lend them to you. You gotta have it organized. But again, this is all you do. It's just for sale by owners. You're out there 2 to 3 hours every day, going through that list and seeing these. I don't care if you take a listing at 1% fee, because you're going to get other business from them. And this is all you're doing is for sale by owners. So you just focus on this and you get those listings, and you will do better than anybody else. Nobody is seeing these people 12 times. Each time you see them, you give them something else. Oh, here's Andy's termite. If you need a free inspection, use my name. Here's his card, call him. In fact, I always get an inspection on my listings, before we market it, so that the buyers will know what's involved. It may only be a couple $100, but if it's $10,000, it's good to know that up front. Don't you think? Yes, give Andy a call, right? And each of these visits, you have a new vendor. Oh, here's we just came out with this new purchase agreements. You won't believe it, but when I started this industry, it was 1 page, and you flop this out, it's 16 pages. Well, this is what you're going to have to fill out. Escrow can't do this for you. It's illegal. So, you're going to have somebody fill this out. Here's a blank form, right? Next time. Here's a blank escrow instructions. You give them the 10 pages of the escrow instructions, with a property profile and all the other shit on there. And the idea is, and then you hit them up. Now, here's a disclosure. Here's the SPQ. It's 5 pages. This is something that you're going to have to fill out. So you've got this planned out that in this 3-week period, you're going to see them a dozen times, and each time you've got a purpose. The best, and I'll just hang on this because I don't want to talk all about for sale by owners, because I know all of you are just going to drive by the next one you stop. You see, you go to their open house, right? So they're going to do, Saturday, they're going to do open house Saturday. What time? From noon until 5, right? So you come by there at 5 o'clock, or 4:45 and say, oh, hey, how many offers did you get today? Right?
Mm,
And what are they gonna say? They have 10 agents come in trying to solicit me, right? They didn't get any buyers. I mean, a buyer's not gonna go out, a buyer's gonna be crazy to go to a for sale by owner because he can get an agent to work for him for free, right? And see everything on the MLS. So, you didn't get any buyers today on your open house? Gee, you probably, it really should be on the MLS, And then you try to make an appointment where you can go through your marketing plan. You try to close in that first week. You want to close to be able to present your CMA to where you can show them what you do to market, what your commission schedule is, all the things that you're going to do for them to be successful. But you got to keep this education process up. A couple of quick things. I always give them a post sign. Again, this is all you're doing is just for sale by owners. You install the regular post sign for sale by owner. It costs $30 for Woodstock to install this, right? Big block letters for sale by owner, and it's got their owner's phone number. And at the very top, it says courtesy of Derf at TRG, right? On these signs. And so any realtor, because that's when people that are going to go to for sale by owners are going to see this, TRG or Derf's already working this because it's his name's on the signs. You can give them open house signs and then give them all the stuff. It's all got your name on it. Right? And that gets rid of your competition because your competition at most is to stop by one time. And the last tip on for sale by owners, we'll move on, is get third-party endorsements. So after you've been there, after you've gone through the first week, on that second week, if there's another open house, have your team members stop by. And Andy will do this. If you're giving Andy business, Robert will do this, right? John, our lender, Jonathan will do this. Have them stop by, right? And say, oh, Derf told me about this beautiful house that you have. I just want to come look at it because I've got buyers that are looking in this area or whatever, blah, blah, blah. By the way, that Derf is a really good agent. He really knows this neighborhood. He's young, he's new in the neighborhood, and he's the best. Because you've got 3 RE/MAX agents that are competing against each other that are all trying, and here you've got everybody coming together saying, hey, what a great guy this Derf is. So those third-party endorsements are really strong. And there's no, and as I always teach in my real estate classes, there's no competition in this business. Nobody is doing this. We just don't do it. Okay. So anything else you want me to touch on? I want to close on what it's going to take to be successful. Let me give you another success story. I've got a great phone thing for rent. I did income properties, and I used to call on these properties. If you're doing income properties, a lot of times the owners will put, oh yeah, we've got a old 2-bedroom, 1 bath. Nowadays it's $3,000, but that's a good way to be able to talk to owners. Got lots of letters and stuff in here. 2 things. So let me talk about John Hunter. And then I'm going to close on planning your work and working your plan. So John Hunter, one of our agents, he did mortgage loans. He's probably in his 30s. He's like Danny's age. He did loans for a couple of years, and he decided he wanted to get his real estate license. He got his license. His first year or 2, he did a couple of transactions a year. Kind of typical. And he was starving. He needed more money, and so he subscribed to this. I think it's called Smart Zip. I don't know if they're still around. Smart Zip, which you can now get for free. Robert, our title rep, can get you this for free. And so what Smart Zip does, it's $500 a month. So you got to be committed to doing this and paying that amount of money. And so you give them your parameters, and he was in the Golden Hills area, Redondo Beach, those tall and skinny homes up there, you know, where I would think every third home is owned by a realtor in that area, or, you know, somebody's working it. And I'm looking at John Hunter, and I'm going, wow, that's a tough neighborhood to have. He goes, yeah, but I've got this great software program and, you know, blah, blah, blah. So what they do is you give them an area of about 1,500 homes, right? And they narrow that down and they give you 10 properties a day to go knock on the door and give them your business card. And what they're doing now, and it's common, in fact, Robert has this software. The analytics will tell you who has the greatest propensity of selling in the next 12 months. And so the old school of farming was, you know, 500 homes, you knock on everybody's door, you know, talk to everybody. If I was to farm nowadays, this is what I would do. I would go to Robert, I would pick an area of about 2,000 homes, maybe a zip code that you know that you want to work in, right? And just work the 100 that are most likely to sell in that year. And you hit them up 4 to 5 times a month. Because they're the ones that have the highest chance of selling.
If I wanted to focus on income property, would Robert be able to give me 100 of the most likely to sell? Or
Sure,
do I have to go through it and find the 100
Well,
most
it all
likely?
comes out in Excel, so you give him the parameters, whether it's zip codes or streets or whatever, and he'll give you all the owners. And then out of all of those, he can run his analytics, and then whatever the highest chance, it's like it's from the sliding scale from 0 to like 90% or something. So you just pick the top ones and you just solicit those top ones.
So the next point would be to try and call them, right?
Yeah. Now it's
So now
different
the
for
telephone number is,
well, no, it's different for income property because typically they don't live there.
okay,
So this, I would just do those that lived on the property,
okay,
right? I mean, you can narrow it down. You may have to go bigger area, but you don't need 100 of them. And you know that these people, chances are, you know, 15, 20 of them are going to need a realtor here within 12 months. If it's in that 90% range, you know, because they're saying that most of them are going to sell or do a transfer within a year. So that's a good way to market. So anyway, so make a long story a little bit longer. This is what John did. He never printed any flyers. He rode a motorcycle, right? He would go out and I never saw him in a suit. And he would go to those homes, and this software was telling him, go to these 10 homes. Every morning, between 9 and noon, he would go out, knock on the door, and give him his business card. All he ever did was give business cards out. Right? You got to know these people because they would tell you, the software would tell you, okay, so the next week you go back to this property that you did a week ago and you hit them up again, right? And he just did that religiously. He did about $500,000 in commissions in 11 months. He has the record. I think he did 6 closings, and this is back when the values were in the $500,000 to $700,000 too, so it's twice that now. He did 6 closings in 1 month, so he holds our record for the most closing. We'll have agents that will do 2 or 3. He did 6 in 1 month. His dad got sick in November, and he went back east to see his dad. He took December and then November and December off, and so he only worked 11 months that year. And he did his earnings were over 500,000. And I mean, this is not having a big car, not doing any of the stuff that I was trained, but he religiously went out there every day and talked to these people. And he's got great stories. He opened his own office. his goal after this, he came to me as we worked closely. He really didn't know that much about real estate. And he says, Derf, he goes, one of my lifelong goals was to open my own office. And so he opened up a little, like a one-man shop. I think he's got like 2 or 3 agents with him. And he's been there for like maybe 5 or 6 years. But if you want to do farming, if you want to do that type of farming, call him up, take him out to lunch and pick his brain. He's probably already talked to 5 or 6 people that I've sent him. Really nice guy. He still calls me for advice for all these years. So John Hunter, real nice guy, but he did this smart zip, which now is free. Maybe it's better if you're paying the money because that might make you a little more dedicated to actually doing the work. Okay, all right, so unless there's anything else, I'm going to close on these last 3 pages in this booklet here.
So you said just 10 properties, 5 days a week? That's what you
Yeah.
said?
Talk to this. You know, the old Fredericks Realty plan was 1, 5, 10, 20. One open house. This is before computers.
Mhm.
1, 5, 10, 20. One open. I don't remember this. Steve. One open house a week. C5 properties a day. Tom Hopkins was big on that because for a new agent, you got to know what your market is, right? And you can go to open houses or brokers open. We used to, and that's how we got fed going to these brokers opens because we were so broke. Our office was mostly 20. Had the managers were old and they were like 35, right? One open house a week, see 5 properties a day, talk to 10 people a day, and knock on 20 doors a day. How long do you think that would take? The 10 people, give 10 people your business card could be part of that knocking on 20 doors. So knock on 20 doors, how long does that take?
Nice.
2 hours?
Yeah.
Maybe travel time to and from 2 hours?
It depends on if they're at home.
And one, well, no, you're not gonna, they're not gonna be home.
Yeah.
Most of them aren't gonna be. One open, so what is that? Couple hours a day? I mean, and you will be head and shoulders above anybody around here as far as your prospecting time. All right, so that was,
Quick question. Is the door knocking okay during the
Yes.
coronavirus?
it is now.
It is now? Okay.
John Hunter.
John,
You
Hunter.
say John Hunter? I gave him a loan to a client in Redondo, good friend. And later on, he was doing real estate. He goes to my client, oh, I can sell your house.
You worked him when he was in the mortgage business?
Yeah,
Yeah,
I
he's
gave
in
him-
real estate now.
and he made a loan to one of my good clients, and I know that she wants to sell. Next time, John Hunter went to
That's the
her
guy.
house and listed it. Wait, that was my client.
Stole your client.
But anyway,
Okay, so I'm 20 years old and I'm full-time in real estate, starving. And it actually took me 3 months for me to make my first transaction. Charlie, my manager, he was married and had a couple of kids. It took him 6 months because he was kind of like my mentor. And I'm going, 6 months, how do you survive with kids? So one of the hardest things when you're working full-time is judging as to how effective you are. Because you're listening to the tapes, you're doing the plan, you're holding the open houses, you're seeing for seven, you're doing all this, you're not getting a paycheck at the end of the week, and there's nobody patting you on the back saying, attaboy, because this is your own business and everything, you have to be self-motivated. And so I always had a really difficult time as to whether, am I doing enough? Or am I doing the right thing? Because I'm spending a lot of time with this and I'm not getting anything. So Tom Hopkins back in the 70s, and if you can go to this page here, it's like the or fourth from the, maybe the fifth or sixth page from the end, in the very back. I've used this for so many years. This is the cleanest copy I have. If you notice that. Go back. We're ready for that daily activity graph. No, go back to the, right by the daily activity graph. There you go. Okay. So what he's done, and then this is the new page here. Right before it, there's a activity. We should start there. This is your daily activity graph, right? What is it? Oh, this one. All right, so this is a new one. This page is actually from the 70s. So this is a good judge as to what you're doing in the business. And if you notice, there's 31 days process, right? 31 days, and each day you get points. If you see a for sale by owner, check a point there. You see 5 of them, you get 5 points. Right? If you show a property or you're looking at new properties, if you're going to go see your 5 a day, like that 1, 5, 10, 20, right? That's 5 points because you're going to check out 5 properties. Door knocking, 1 point for each homeowner that you talk to. Right? If you get a listing appointment, I get a kick out of this, a listing reduction of $500 or more. That was back on $500 meant something. All right, so the idea is, he's really big on thank you notes. So you get a point for every thank you note that you would write. Every night he'd write 10 thank you notes. And these are the 10 people that he talked to that day, right? He would write these personal notes. Nobody does this anymore. Guys, there's no competition. There is no competition in this industry. And then phone canvassing, he wasn't big on phone canvassing. So you can see how you get points. It's basically broken down by points. So how many points would it take in a day to be successful? If we do that 1, 5, 10, 20 plan, right? You're talking to 10 people, you're seeing 5 properties. That's like 15 points a day. You'd be successful doing that, but he wants you to do more. He wants you to do about 20 points, 25 points. How long that can take? No, it's not gonna take 4 hours. I'm gonna take a couple hours. Okay, so the idea is that at least you are your own judge. These are your records. And then you chart it, and that's where I want you to go to this page. Because this has 4 areas, area 1 through 3, 4. These are 4 different agents. And you can see agent 1, they're doing what, 11 points, 12 points. They got up to 28 points on that like 4th day. Everybody see this on the chart? Yep, 20. So this area 1 is 1 agent. So he's kind of sporadic. This is kind of like what I was doing when I started. And if you look to the very left, your average, if you're in between that 10 to 20 points a day, that's kind of average. Right? If you look at area 2, now this guy is good. He's in the 20 to 30 points almost every day. Right? Area 3, he's off the chart. So this is your multi-million-dollar producer. Right? He's doing 40 points a day. And then the best one is this last one, area 4, right? And if you look at Tom Hopkins' comments under area 4 up there on the top right, this, I'm sorry to say, is where we are all. This is it. You know, we're lucky to get 2 or 3 points a day in this. So this is, I think it's an excellent way that you can be your own boss, judge how effective you are out there, how many contacts you're making. 3 or 4 a day, 1 open house a month ain't gonna make it, guys. You gotta be up in this 20 to 30 range. So use this, it's a real good way judge yourself and your effectiveness in this industry. And there's lots more here. There's stuff on here on how to make goals. There's a 1 week business plan near the end of this page, second to last page. Best year ever. This is for your goal setting. This gets to your motivation again. You know, what's it gonna make to really change my life? You know, am I gonna make another $50,000-$60,000, or am I gonna make $500,000 this next year? And what's it gonna take to do that? All right, so this is.
What was the area two? How many points were they making?
You can see that they're like between, they're looking good. They're in the top 20%. They're making between 20 and 30 points a day. They're averaging,
Okay,
right? You took 1 day off, you took 2 days off, right?
okay,
In that 30-day period, you only took 2 days off.
okay.
So he's in the top 20% of all of the real estate agents. And area 3, he took 1 day off. All right, guys.
Yeah.
You know, this should always be my most well-attended class, and of all the classes that I teach, I have less people coming to this than any other class, and it's because they know they're not doing what they're supposed to be doing. And most of us know that we got to do more, but we're not focused enough, we're not motivated enough, we're not determined enough to go out there and plan our work and work our plan. So even if it's modest goals, you should still have a plan out there so that you feel accomplished each week, each month, when you're doing what you're supposed to be doing.
Okay, I have a question. So when you're trying to get all these points, are you still only picking one of these?
Yes.
So I can do all these points if I only do open houses?
What do you think?
So it seemed like I would have to.
How many people are you going to see? So and that's a really good question. So if you're focusing on open houses and that's all you're doing, right? You're doing 4 open houses a week, right? You're doing the prep. You're going to go out there, you're going to knock on doors, you're going to hand out postcards about that open house.
Oh, okay. So you can
Yeah,
still
you're
do
gonna
it.
get your 25, 30 points a day. You may take 2 or 3 days off a week because you're only working 4 days, but you're gonna have follow-up and other stuff to do on the other days. But yeah, it's gonna be, and that's how you know that you're successful, because you're making all of those contacts. You're putting yourself, as Tom Hopkins always used to say, you're putting yourself in a position where somebody can say yes.
Okay.
And, you know, sitting in the office and not doing anything, nobody's gonna call John up and say, hey, I talked to you 10 years ago, so come sell my house. You've got to call them. You gotta call
Okay.
them. And I don't do the follow-up like I should either. I mean, that's just that's the nature of the beast. But don't do as I do as I say, right? All right, other questions? I'm here, so thank you guys for hanging around, have some food. We got.
I have a question.
Yeah.
About, like, they have a advertise about commission, like 1%. How do the people share with you 1% from the 1%?
Well, that's in my working with sellers class, and I have it's actually online. I have a commission
Okay.
schedule, and my commission schedule goes down to 2%, but I teach going down to 1%.
Okay.
And I see those billboards. There's a lot of them up in the
Right.
desert area.
Uh-huh.
Sell your house for 1%.
Mhm.
Well, nobody can do it for less than us, because we're paying the less fees than anybody here. It's only $2,000 office fees.
And I saw in MLS saying that too, 1% to cost.
No. So the whole idea is, and to get specific to yours, it's kind of like the old help you sell. Help you sell is still around, or
Right.
we'll sell your house for $6,000 or whatever it is. Well, 1% now is what, $7,000, $8,000?
Mhm.
And you can advertise that'll sell your house for 1%, but you've got to be able to educate them as to what that means. So on my marketing plan, on my commission schedule, that 1% is when the sellers have a buyer. And I'm doing the paperwork. I'm going to represent both sides I'm only gonna charge 1%. So that means it's gonna be $7,000, $8,000, right? If it's 700,000 or 800,000, right? If it's $1 million, it's gonna be 10,000. I'm gonna pay $1,000 to TRG, and I'm gonna get the other $6,000, $7,000, $8,000 in my pocket for doing paperwork. I will do that all day long. Line up, come on down, right? So nobody can beat you on your commission. The thing is that sellers, they see 1% and they're thinking, oh, I don't want to pay 6%, I want to pay 1%. They don't know that, well, hey, if we're gonna put on the MLS, you're gonna have to pay 2 to 3% plus the 1%. So that's how you educate them
Okay.
as to what that process is. But yeah, I would do 1% all day long. Dual agency. All right, guys, thank you.
Okay, thank you.
No competition.
You said the scripts are where?